said, Daddy, I just got to tell you everything I've done. And I just told him. I remember he just looked at me with tears in his eyes and he said, sweetheart, if you could see the skeletons in everybody's closet, you'd be amazed. Yet Jesus sees, and he loves you. And he loves you, and he loves you. Hey y'all, I'm Lydia Laird, and this is my CCM exclusive interview. I think for me, it was always from a very young age, just a way of dealing with an over emotional personality, if you will. I just always felt everything so strongly. And at 9 years old, I remember I have 9 siblings, and I know, kind of weird, but our family was just huge, so close. And my mom was pregnant, and she had never miscarried before. And I remember I was so excited for my little brother to get here, and then she miscarried. And I just remember not knowing. I had all these feelings about it, and I was just like, how do I deal with this? I knew I was going to see him again, even at 9, just because I'd been raised to know Jesus. And I still had these feelings that I needed to deal with. And I remember going outside, sitting on our little tire swing, and that was the first time I took out a little pen and paper and just wrote down this little lyric about seeing him again. And that's when it all started for me. It became God's way of really allowing me to process a lot of emotions, and would continue to be for the rest of my life. When it came time for me to actually record this album, I was walking through the heaviest season of my life so far after losing my dad. I mean, directly after losing my dad. And a couple of the songs came during that season. So it was like, I had started it kind of thinking, okay, I've gone through this heavy season. I'm healing. God's bringing me out of it. And I had actually had the concept the month before my dad was diagnosed with cancer. And then Dad was diagnosed with terminal cancer and was gone a matter of months later. And I think just the whole journey of that, it was like therapy. It was like God's way of saying, yeah, I knew it was about to happen. And I had more songs for you to write for this that you didn't even know you were going to. And I'm going to walk with you through the hardest thing you've ever gone through, the one thing I've always given you, which was songwriting and singing those emotions out. I've been in this heavy, I've been in the midst of some of the most difficult depression of my life. And I've seen God healing through this obedient step, and now I'm coming out the other side. And that's, just to be honest, that's where I was. And then the next month, we got that call about Dad, and it was like, whoa, no, I'm back to the heavy. Wait, what? But I thought, okay, I don't know how long I have. I'm going to move home, and not knowing what the next day would look like, And I just randomly out and about in town met my husband, and it was literally 8 months later that we were married. And 4 months after that, having our sweet little Lucy, who's been a dream of mine since I was a little girl, to have a little girl named Lucy from Narnia, because I'm a nerd. And her name means light. And truly, God gave us light. And before we got pregnant with her, my husband suddenly lost his father. So it was my dad, his dad, and then all of a sudden, here comes Lucy. And we were like, God, it is hard. We have so many whys of like, well, why didn't Dad get to walk me down the aisle? Why didn't his dad get to see our baby? Why didn't, you have all these things. And yet, in the midst of that, God is so faithful that he even gave us this precious little girl in this random season of life that's not random to him, because he says, no, here's this light. I promise you, no matter how dark the darkness is, I will bring light. And it was just so precious because I've had that name in my mind since I was young. And then to look at it and be like, her name means light. And God knew we needed it, So it's been, again, the both and. Heavy season, beautiful season, and that's okay. It's both together, Daddy's memorial service was Friday, and I was in the studio Monday starting the project. And I knew that's what Dad would want. He knew. I had told him, I said, Daddy, this record's for you. Everything's different now. I want you to know that this isn't a carry on your legacy, because God's going to use it in so many people's lives. And I truly believe he has. And it's just crazy because sometimes we think we understand what God's doing or why he's given us a vision, but it's his vision. And he's doing something sometimes that far surpasses anything we could think or imagine. And often that looks like walking through a lot of grief before you get to that holding. I have still struggled. It's like, I think the record got done and a lot of people thought, okay, she ended with holding, like she's in this healthy place now. And man, every day is an ups and downs. You just never know. And in the last month or so, I've really struggled, I think, just postpartum with anxiety, and then with grief, and then all the change. And I found myself a couple weeks ago, I was dealing with a lot of panic attacks, and I called my oldest sister, who she loves the Lord, and she's a lot like my daddy. And she came over, she just sat down with me and she said, honey, you are listening. And by the way, it's like, I've done this before. It's not like this is new. We've gone through this same cycle. You know, you do these things, you fail, you remind yourself that who God is, you get back up, and then it happens again because we're human. And so I'm in this place and I'm going, you know, Beth, I just can't, my anxiety is so bad. I literally feel like I'm crippled. Like, how am I going to be a good mom? How am I going to be this? How am I? And she sat down and she said, Lydia, your mind's so full of this voice, of these fears. She's like, just like my song Hush Fear, which is like, hello, you wrote that. But she's like, you have to fill it. You have to fill it with worship. You have to fill it with sermons and podcasts and whatever. And it seems so simple, sometimes just obedience. It seems so simple. You know, you read in scripture how important worship is, that he would send out the singers in front of the armies. He would send out singers to make walls fall down. And I'm like, Beth, yeah, I know. Worship, yeah, I know. And then she leaves. I'm like, okay. And I like turn on worship music and I start singing. And it's like, oh, hello. I forgot how powerful it is when we shift our eyes from these issues that we're facing to God. I mean, it truly is everything. And it doesn't matter how long you've known the Lord, you can forget. I remember one time I had moved to Nashville. I grew up very conservative, very sheltered, moved to Nashville, started making a whole bunch of stupid mistakes. I drove home to East Texas and I sat on this carpet floor with my dad. He came and sat on the ground with me. I said, Daddy, I just got to tell you everything I've done. And I just told him. I remember he just looked at me with tears in his eyes and he said, sweetheart, if you could see the skeletons in everybody's closet, you'd be amazed. Yet Jesus sees and he loves you and he loves you and he loves you. And it just gave me this freedom. And I didn't need to go to my dad, but I needed to know I was still loved. And in that way, Dad was Jesus to me in that moment. And that's the kind of legacy he left. And that is what I want. I want people to know, oh, he loves you, how he loves you. Thanks for watching my CCM exclusive interview. You guys can find me anywhere at Lydia Laird.